Hi there, this is David Dingo, and this is an assembly video for the new Micro 10 version 2. In order to make a mount which looks similar to this, you will need a Micro 10 version 2 back, and you will need a servo motor. This is a Hobby King HK15178, which is the ones that I recommend, although you can use a Hobby King, at least a Tower Pro SG90 or similar if you want to. You will also need a small posi drive screwdriver. This is a size 0, and you will also need some form of setting the servo itself. So this is the one I sell, the little servo tester and a battery pack which takes 4 pen-light batteries. Now normally the assembly videos I use would be using an ordinary folding block like this one, and I would fold the stuff on here, but for this particular demonstration I'm going to use the Micro 10 folding block, which is this little block here, and they are available from the website for a small fee. Now, first thing to do is to take out all the bits. And there is at the back of the PDF download, you will find a whole list of all the bits that you should have in order to put this together. If there are any bits missing, please let me know so that I can rectify that for you. Right, so let's move all these little bits out of the way. We don't need them right now. And first of all, I'm going to bring in the folding block. As I said, you can begin the folding by just folding it on a block of wood like this, as we've done. Oops, let me put that some different way. As I said, you can fold these by just using a block of wood. Fold that one down, turn it upside down, fold the 2 wings on either side. But for this particular demonstration, I'm going to use a folding block, which will also prove to you that the folding block still works for the Micro 10 version 2. So the center hole is the one we put the foot plate, which is that bit there, in first, and fold that towards us nice and firmly. Make sure it's all the way down. It's also good to check that that is at a 90-degree angle. If not, we can just tweak it a little bit until we are at a full 90-degree angle. Then the second goes into there like that, and we fold it away from us, and the next one comes into the far side slot. There we go. Goes in there, and then you pull that down towards you, and that gives you a frame which looks like that. These wings are slightly opened so that we can get the slider in. Right, so now you will need to bring in your little wooden block just to fold the slider, and that literally folds on that one little line there, and it's just a question of pushing it over. You can do that on the edge of your desk, workbench. Make sure that it comes over at 90 degrees. And then we can put the bends away. Now, in contrast to previous videos, I want to show you a different way of putting this all together. So first of all, I'm going to pick up these 3 little screws, and I'm going to fit those, hopefully without too much trouble, into the holes, and just give them half a turn. Now I'm working on the assumption that we're going to put the pin in a straight line this way, and so I'm going to put a screw in there rather than in there. If you were going to mount the unit on horizontal on top of the layout, or if you were going to use a dog leg, then you would put this screw over there, but I'm going to put it down there for this particular demonstration. Right, now the next thing that I'm going to do, and this may sound a little strange, is I'm going to fit this into the frame. Now we have checked that this all slides in nicely, that there's no problems there. So what we'll do is we'll put one leg into the mount, slide it across, and then fold the two legs up and pull this through to the other side, so not too far. And we can fold these up until they are perpendicular and make sure that everything is sliding nicely across. Here we go, that's a nice mount. That's all put together very easily. So now we can start work on the servo. Take our servo out, and one of the little horns, these things are so difficult to get out. We need that little black screw, and we'll need this horn here. And we're going to put it on there, but before I screw it on, I'm going to hook my servo up to the servo tester and center it. Now with this little servo tester, if you move the light to the middle light, which is that one there, then the servo is centered. And we're going to fit the servo in that way around. So what we need is for the horn to now stand vertically down. And that just, whoops, just goes on there. More or less. It won't go exactly in the center because the splines don't always line up. So you get as close as you can to the center. It's not going to make a big deal of difference. And then screw that into there. Now, one of the things which we do suggest, if you're going to use this on a larger scale and you're going to get a big swing with your servo, then maybe just to cut sort of 1/8 of an inch off the end of the servo arm. That just prevents it from crashing into the servo if it swings rather hard. Having done that, we can now drop that into the back of the servo mount. What I'm going to do though, before I do that, is I'm going to put one of these M2x6 screws in the back there, and then drop it in because it's a bit hard to get the screw in otherwise. And then you can get the screwdriver in behind the wire there, if you're lucky, and just screw it in. The other screw goes into this side here, and that just hooks up like that. Make sure they're both screwed in all the way. And then the last, and probably the trickiest part, is to put this little screw through the front to hold the slider onto the arm. Particularly tricky when you're working through a camera. When that screws in, be careful not to screw it down too tight so that it catches on the top plate, and also make sure that it doesn't foul the motor underneath. It can go in half a turn more. There we go. Now we can test our servo, make sure everything's working correctly. And that essentially is the mount made up. Now what we can now do is make up the switches. Now remember that the switches need to be pointing down, so the lever needs to be pointing down on these things. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to break off the nut plates like that, and then once we've got them separated with two of these M10 screws, we can then make up a switch. And you'll see what I've done. I've got the nut plate there, the two screws, and the switch there. And then this can simply slide onto the mount there, and we leave it right at the edge of the travel, lock it up, oops, at the edge of the travel until such time as the mount is in position and has been set up. You make another one up the opposite way around to put on the far side. And that is the Micro 10 mount, all made up and set. And once you've got it all set up, you can then move the switch into position by just loosening it off. Slack it off half a turn. And move it in until it activates. Once it activates, you just lock it up. And then each time you operate it, it will go back to the same place. And that's the Micro 10 version 2. Here's to put the pin through those 3 holes there. Nip it up with the center one just for a moment. And then once you've installed the mount with these 2 flange screws, you can then adjust this to the right height and lock it in place with all 3 screws. Set up your turnout, and when you're finished, lock the switches in place, and it's a job done. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy using the Micro 10 version 2.